Yes, guys, welcome back to the Cannon Podcast. Instant reaction. Fulham 1, Arsenal 1. Solo 1 today. I don't actually know where George is. We were meant to be doing this together. I think he's asleep. So, oh, I thought that was the moment as well. I literally had an out of body experience. I jumped, screamed, ran outside my room. I don't know where I was going, and ran back in. We've got so much to talk about on this one. So much to talk about. Stick with me as I try and put my thoughts together. Thank you to all in the comments and stuff. I'll come to you. Yes, but let's just talk. I think big picture first. Look, title race isn't over, guys, but these are the sort of games that you have to win titles. And it feels like one of those game shows where have you ever seen that, like in action movies where the barrier's closing and the guy's running and he just about makes it under, and our barrier is going and going and going. And look, we might have won it if it weren't for Martinelli being offside. But we weren't good enough. Do you know what I mean? It's not as if we were absolutely brilliant and then we just feel like we didn't get over the line at the end for whatever reason. We just weren't good. We weren't good for too much of that game. We had the game in control, but at what point? We know Arsenal, right? We have control of games. We can do that. We can control games. There's no issue there. The issue is the other stuff and the other stuff that isn't being fixed. That is a big concern. Let's talk about that now because it's probably worth talking about, and we'll come back to the big picture and sort of the title race and stuff in a second. Look, just seeing some of the comments. Alex blocked me on Twitter because I don't support his Arteta deriding. I only block people on Twitter who are abusive, so you're probably abusive, Josh. Apologies. Yeah, okay. I think the main issue I feel from that game, I've got a list. I've got a list of issues. So let's walk through them. The transition. This is the game we always talk about it, right? In terms of the transition in this team, centrally, we don't have enough to sort of break through teams. When we get teams back, especially teams like Fulham and Villa and stuff in mid blocks, you can go through, round, or over, right? And they're incredibly compact. And if you have a team whose distances are unbelievably tight front to back, then you have to go over or around. And you can't go through them. And we're still trying to go through them. When we do go wide, we're not quick enough. And we don't go over them. Kai Havertz was just stood on that last line. And it has to be instruction. Do you know what I mean? At some point, I know Kai Havertz can run. So that has to be instruction for him to not run in behind. I don't get that at all. I really don't get that at all. And then when the game opens out a little bit, when other teams, I'm using other teams because it's not just Fulham, we've seen this before, when teams break out and they do step onto us, we don't have the transitional ability through the center or through wide areas. If you're a team whose pretty much your sole way of making chances is from your right-hand side, your left-hand side has to complement that. And we don't have anyone who can firstly, we don't put the ball out there quick enough. And secondly, when we do get out there and that player is isolated, we don't have someone and I don't particularly blame Martinelli or Trossard, but they're not suited to all of the football being on this side and then this player, because Martinelli is best once he's in there. He's not the player who from out to in that run can devastate you. Trossard's a reference. He's decent technically, but he's not that player either. He's not going to burn you 1v1 every single time. That's why I've been calling for it. And then when the game does open out, when you're not just playing against the block, you run through teams, and we don't have that centrally. Ødegaard doesn't have that. That's not who he is. I'm not blaming Ødegaard. It's not who he is. He doesn't play that way. He controls games. Declan Rice actually was probably one of our best players today, I felt, because he had a bit more space, because he was dropping back and could run. But again, he's not a player who... He's not Smith Rowe, ironically, in the way he transitions through teams. And then if we're going to have that out wide, we don't have a player, again, who can, from those positions, devastate from that out-to-in run. So I don't understand how we've constructed the attack. It just doesn't make sense to me. And we've spoken about this, you know, and we normally have so many ways of getting through, but this, you know, set pieces and that reliance we'll come on to, right? But set pieces, you know, we have that. We have the rotations when they're working on the right hand side are unbelievable. The cutbacks, we do have shots from distance. We've seen it with Partey and Rice, etc. You know, we do have, you know, we can win penalties. We have lots of different ways. But when the right hand side isn't working on a day like today against a mid block, it's a big concern. It's a big concern. We don't have other ways. We don't have different routes in, and we're not finding those balls over the top or those runs. There's a reason that the Tyler Diblings and the Mateus Cunhas and the Liam Delaps and the Elangas, those guys, there's a reason they're thriving in this league. And it's because they're carriers. They can move the ball through blocks. They can break stuff. Teams are unbelievably well coached. So when I say Fulham are unbelievable, I don't want anyone to think that's an excuse. That's not me saying, oh, we're not good enough. We're not better than Fulham. We're better than Fulham. But when I say that, Hertzler, Silva, Unai Emery, these guys can coach teams. Let's not kid ourselves. So that makes it even more important to not think you can outthink them. I will be able to break down Fulham. No, you can't sometimes. Even if you're Mikel Arteta. So you have to have different ways of doing that and come through the game in that way. So it's so incredibly frustrating to be here having the same conversation again. And, you know, that's a lot of tactical stuff. There's a lot of you know, potentially for some people might perceive it as complicated stuff. I don't think it is. But I, you know, you can put it down really to more simple stuff, I think. And the simple stuff is put players in their best positions. If you have Miles in the squad, I don't mind. If you have Miles in the squad, yeah, do that. But you have to trust him. In the same way you trust Ethan. If you have 17, 18-year-olds in your squad taking up a slot that you don't go make a signing for, I'm okay with that because they're brilliantly talented players. But if you don't trust Miles Lewis-Skelly to come in and deal with Alex Iwobi and keep Timber where he is and keep Partey where he is and keep what's been making us good over the last few weeks, you know, continue that sort of trend, what's the point in having him in the squad? I'd be saying the same with Ethan. He's using Ethan, but I'm saying about Miles because sometimes football is so simple. Put players in their best positions. Put players with left foot on the left, right foot on the right, and you look more balanced. Shock. We looked better when Marino came on. We look better when Martinelli was stretching. It didn't work, but you look better. We know this. We've seen this. How many times have we come on the podcast and said hundreds and hundreds of times, oh, when we had more balance, we look better. We know this. It can work. You know, and by the way, aspects of the performance I'm really pleased with. So Jurriën Timber stepping into the midfield and Declan Rice dropping back, that was really working at times. But when it stops working, it's so annoying. It's so annoying. I'll continue on this, and I want to talk positives as well because there are some positives. Look, I need match winners. I need match winners in this team, and I'm looking at players like Rice. I'm looking at players like Jesus, and I'm looking at players like Trossard, and I'm looking, you know, those guys. You're senior players. You're not 22, 23, and Saka is our match winner. You're not Ethan. Ethan, you know, he didn't impact the game, but I'm not going to go on about Ethan. He's 17, right? I need you to win games for me. Thomas Partey missing that header, you can't do that. You can't. You can, but you can't expect to win a title. You can't. So, senior players stepping up and coming on and impacting things. Where's Raheem Sterling today, guys? Where's Raheem Sterling? If he was good enough in training, he'd be on the pitch, wouldn't he? I'm just ranting. I'll come to comments and stuff. I'm sure you're. I can't even see your comments because frankly that would be distracting. Where are we? Yeah, and I have a big concern at the moment about this team in terms of turning the games round. We are so good in so many aspects. We're the best team in the world at set pieces. We do create, like Martin Odegaard's, this idea that we're relying on set pieces. We are a bit, of course, in terms of getting games past us. But if you look at open play chances, Martin Odegaard's right up there. So we have so many aspects of our build-up. Teams don't have, when do we lose the ball in build-up? It's so rare. David Raya, like, you know, so many aspects of our play are brilliant. But it feels like at the moment, and this could be copium, it feels like we have, and yeah, I'm sort of transitioning onto the positives. A day like today, you lose Gabriel and you lose Calafiori and you can see down that side. And it just feels, and then, you know, you kick the ball away, and we're not getting into whether Arsenal there's a conspiracy against Arsenal, but there's obviously difference in in that rule that we've been a victim of. I can't remember who it was, Tete or Bassi, whatever their names are, like kicking the ball away. Just same referee, just literally, that's okay, is it? All right, fine. It feels like any nook where we could be got, we get got. And it's the Kivior, it's the same thing. And I'm not blaming Kivior. He's not top level. He's coming in, he's doing a decent job. He's pretty good in possession. Actually, as a box defender, I actually quite like Kivior. I think he's decent. But if you get him turning over his shoulder, he's done. Certainly against the top players. And it feels like, what's the one place you could probably get Arsenal today? The left-hand side of the defence, 12 minutes in, goal. And I'm not, we have our things to deal with. But this season, injury-wise, it's insane. Injury and fixture-wise and refereeing-wise, the things that you can control to some extent, but the things that you don't want to have to talk about, it feels like we're being absolutely slammed. That's not a debate, guys. It's not, oh, no excuses. There is something in this. There is absolutely something in this. Because if you look at the goals we concede from all the situations that happen because of them, it's not as if we're getting players sent off and we're seeing games out, or we're, having players injured and it's not affecting us. The goals we're conceding are directly because of the injuries we get. The situations we're having are directly because of the build up of fixture list. Just feels like wherever we can be got, we get got, and it's so annoying. And it makes you think, is this not our year? Look, okay, let's talk the title race. You can't. It's still December. And by the way, if we were 15 points clear or we were 20 points behind, I'd still be saying that. The window is getting lower and lower and lower. And if I had to predict right now, I don't think we're going to do it. If I had to predict, but it's still a long season. It's a long season. We don't know what would have happened in the Goodison derby. They just beat them 4-0. Like, this idea that other teams are just going to sail away with it, I don't buy this season. But we're not good enough. And that is a massive concern. So, yeah. Just finishing on that before I come to your questions and stuff. Big concern, huge concern. But and there's the aspects of it that's kind of so annoying. It feels like the injuries or whatever and things that are getting up against us. But there's things that we can control, things we've spoken about hundreds of times on this podcast that come back to bite us. And yet, okay, it's the 1% here but then you get done. You get done in this league. And we know that. We knew that in the summer. We knew that last summer. We knew that 5 years ago. Really annoying. Really annoying. Let me come to your comments. Can we be brutally honest about our attackers? Thank you, Dio, for your super chat. Yeah, look, Martinelli, the most polite way of putting it is he's misprofiled. He's not a touchline winger. He's not. He's a I would say, a fourth lane attacker. He's not a fifth lane attacker. He can't generate chances well enough for out to in. He can't do it. So if I'm being polite, I'm saying he's being misprofiled. But then even when he is in central areas, he doesn't do what I would expect him to do. So it's a big concern, man. It's a big concern. Mafia, thank you for super chat. I've been a believer of Arteta, but I'm starting to believe that he's not going to win here. His inability to learn from mistakes is annoying. Why does he always go with seniority? Look, let's not rip up the history. Mikel does learn from mistakes. He does. He does do it. The problem is it's too late. He does learn from mistakes. If you look at the Calafiori signing for the Gabriel thing, or if you look at how he's prioritized players if you look at the injury record of players he signed recently, the availability record, like Timbers and Calafiori, like those kind of guys, like fine. If you look at the way he's improved players, etc., etc. The problem is it feels like he learns too late. And I feel like what's going to happen is either in January or in December, we're gonna get that transitional player. We're going to sign that player, but we're all going to say we should have done it a year ago, or we should have been, we should have got Waneri involved sooner in when Odegaard was out, or we should have moved on from Aubameyang sooner, or whatever it is, whatever the thing that Arteta eventually did. That Smith Rowe, people forget, people were calling for Smith Rowe for like 3 months before he did it. He always does the right thing, but it's always late. Or not always, a lot late. And it feels like when he is late, it kills us, which is a frustration. Nindo, I'm so tired of Gabriel Jesus. I prefer not to speak. Mohamed Basha, is it safe to assume Rice is not Arteta's favourite 6? Last year he had to play him in the 8 as the Havertz experiment failed. What's the excuse this year? Partey's playing good. He was not available to play 6 today. Yeah, this is going to be another thing. I know Rice is going to end up as a 6, and we're all going to go, oh, well, he's better there. I mean, he's brilliant as a box-to-box, by the way. He was probably one of our best players today. But he's going to end up there, and we're all going to go, oh, if you look actually towards the end of the game, he was the reference when we're in the final third. He was the one everyone kept going back to. Love Jesus should score from that ball over the top. He nearly scores from the deflected shot. He's doing some really nice stuff in there. Some balls over the top. He's pinging them out to Saka. I think he's better. He's more powerful in there than a Jorginho. He's running backwards. He looks better as a 6. But yeah, I don't know. Big cheese. Tired of being let down by Arsenal. Outcoached and outworked in the first half, and it's just not good enough. Arteta got it wrong with the lineup. Yeah, on the lineup. Yeah, I find it hard to disagree with that. I really do. I think I don't agree on outcoached in the first half. I agree on outworked. I didn't think we ran enough, and or play with enough aggression and intensity. And when most times in an Arsenal game at halftime, I'm saying tempo. Like, we need to increase the tempo. And the frustration is, if you go for half an hour at the top of the game, 22-23 style, or, just make a sort of a decision, right, we're going to sort of try and lay low for a couple of minutes, and then we're going to push on, and that's decided by Odegaard or Rice or whatever. You don't have to go the whole game 100 miles an hour. But when 45 minutes go by and you feel like we've barely got out first gear, we're just knocking it around. That's the frustration. It doesn't have to be the whole 22-23 thing. But yeah, very frustrating. Let me come to as many of your comments as I can. History of Rock. What's your thoughts on second ball duels today? I don't actually know. To be honest, I didn't think that was the issue. I didn't think physically we were off it. Certainly in the second half. I really don't. There's going to be some things about Arsenal. We're not good enough in certain areas. We need to get specific about what we're not good enough at. And it's what I spoke about in the first 10 minutes. It's the transition quality. It's the profiles out wide on the left. It's about balance and it's about risk. Those are the things. So I don't think it's about our physical. Like, come on, it's not our physicality. They're not a concern. They're not a concern for me. Let's do the stats actually. Let me see if Scott's. Then we've got a joke to lighten the mood. That I can't believe the way that game went as well. That is like the way it panned out is crazy. Zach says we don't want transitions, but bro, we do. When a game opens, you need to be able to win in every way possible. When a game opens out, you need to find different ways, and we don't have that quality. If you watch us, when the ball breaks and we're like 4v4 in our half, we never take advantage. We never capitalize. It's always slowed down. And we need to find even just one player who is the outball every single time, or you transition in a different way, or use Havertz in a different way. I don't know. You can do it different ways. We sign a ball carrier, but I don't want us to turn into prime Leicester 15-16. I'm saying that when we do have those opportunities, because teams are going to be in mid blocks, when they stretch out a little bit, we need to be able to kill them in that way, and we can't do that. Stats are here. Scott Willis, this was oh God. I'd be curious about how much 0.1 XG, man. That's so painful. That's so painful. Yeah. 0.1 XG to 2 XG. You can see with the shot maps. I'd be curious about how much of that was set pieces. Like, I imagine this one here is the Partey one. 0.1 expected goals to 2 shots to 12, but again, 2 shots, 2 on target. One of them scored, and ours is 4 on target. 1 open play shot to 6, 66.9% possession. Double their passes, triple their final third entries, triple their expected to threat created, quintuple their deep touches. They got 1 touch in zone 14. And this is what I'm saying. So much of our football is so good. Like, this is a mod against Fulham, who, by the way, are a brilliant side. Brilliant side. PPDA 80.3 for them. We play in certain aspects of the game. I'm not guys, and they're going, "Oh, you're making excuses." No, listen to what I'm saying. We're brilliant in certain aspects, and we are fundamentally flawed in others, and that's where we're getting killed. So don't rip it up. Fix the issues that we do have. I can't even make the joke. Can I? That is absolutely horrific. I hate this. I hate this so much. Oh my goodness me. Oh my goodness me. That is horrible. Let's come to as many questions as we can. Come to as many questions. I keep saying that. A-level chemistry made easy. Mate, I could have used you. Too slow in transition. I absolutely agree. Not clinical enough in... Where is it? Hang on, there was one. Not clinical enough in games like these from Randall. You Welsh? Randall? Not clinical enough in games like these. I'd probably agree. Maybe only one moment where I can see someone doing better, Saka. But it mostly comes from set pieces. So maybe from set pieces. Martinelli is a below average starter and Trossard is a super sub. Left wing needs upgrading. Well, left wing needs a profile that matches what we're trying to do. If you put everything, this is the thing, right? We get the tactics board out. If we pause it there, I am doing this on the fly, so apologies if this is a bit rushed. But this is what I mean about the left. And there was points where, right? There was points where who's their right back? Tete. He was like here, and Trossard's there. If you have that, and you don't, and the ball is basically spending all of its time here with Saka and Odegaard or whatever, and their entire defense is basically like that, pretty much, and like their fullbacks there. You have to work out a way of when the ball goes back here to get it over quickly, or someone because they won't be able to close those distances quickly. Someone when the ball does come out here can devastate with these inward runs. Martinelli in here, I back him if he gets more chances to score, but he's never there. He's here. But also, that said, some of his decision making is horrendous, even when he has time there. He doesn't connect inside. He doesn't use the runners a lot. There was one moment where he played Timber in sort of around the back here, which is quite nice. But he doesn't. Saka can combine, can go outside, can come inside. He can do everything. And it's unfair to compare him. I get that. But if we want to win, more usually, someone who can, and also someone when the ball breaks in these sorts of areas, is absolutely on their bike there. And Martinelli's quick. He's not that quick. So that's my concern with Martinelli. Let me do this one. Footy edit. Saka being forced wide to accommodate Odegaard being central is so painful. Also, not giving Saka a single overlap is criminal. It's like we forget to platform our best player. I think that's about who is available, mate, to be honest. I think we normally do. I think sometimes there's games you want Saka wide, sometimes you want him inside. I think when we have White available, he goes and pulls him inside. And also, Odegaard does go out there. It's just when we have Partey. And White's not available. Calafiori's not available. Gabriel's not available. Who else isn't available? Zinchenko wasn't available. That's a whole back four. So, like, I know what you mean, but I think it's a little bit unfair considering what we have. Why hasn't Arteta fixed the left-hand side yet? I don't know. And like, it's at this point, he must see the issue. Like the idea that I'm sat here going, oh yeah, Mikel, and he hasn't seen this. Of course he has. So I don't know, and I need someone to ask him about it and just say like, what's the idea? Like, where would you need to improve? Like, he's not going to tell you we're going to do this, but whether it's whether it's tempo, I don't know what it would be, but someone asking that would be important. Someone like an Art de Roche maybe. Try and DM him and be like, please can you ask Arteta in the next press conference? Imagine we had Osimhen, the half space crossing. And this is again what George and I were talking about all summer was there's going to be games like this where we need to look. We need someone who just breaks games open. And Saka, that's what Saka did at the end, by the way, if Martinelli wasn't offside. That's what Saka did. Osimhen is that player. And I just don't understand why we can't sacrifice a little bit of final third control for a little bit of dynamism and someone like that. Like, can Arteta live with two more when you spent that much money on defenders, two more moments where we lose the ball in the final third because it ricochets off Isak or Osimhen for the 5 goals we get from from half space crosses and from just moments where they could just create a bit of separation in the box and just whack it top bins. Havertz is a brilliant player, but to go to the next level, I'm open to conversations about how we do that. We have about 5-10 games this season where we're sat saying, if it's not Saka, then who else will? One inevitable player, not enough. Well, for Liverpool, they've got one inevitable player. It was nearly Saka again today. We'd nearly be talking about him as the inevitable player. So I don't know, but it doesn't. Yeah, the balance doesn't feel right. It feels like it's a lot on him, and it's a lot of football as well. It's just a lot of football for these guys. I don't want to use that as everyone's playing a lot of football, so it's not necessarily fair, but yeah. Everyone just saw my soul. Arteta moving Timber to left back and Partey right back rather than playing MLS. It's giving into seniority, like when Eri wasn't used when Odegaard was injured. Yeah. We spoke about this a little bit earlier. If you're going to have them in the squad, you have to use them. You have to. You can't. I don't mind. It's that whole thing of like we got a 14-year-old training with the first team. Fine. If he's not useful, if it's just a day out for him and it's fun, then if it's not like raising the level in training, which maybe it is, I'm not saying it's not. If it's not raising the level, and then if they're in the squad, we're not using them, it is pointless. You have to use your whole squad. So if you and it could be an injury thing, I don't know. Yeah. I never want to see that kit again either. I hate that kit. It feels like every year we have a kit that we just can't win in. Was it the piss yellow one that we just kept losing in? What was the one last year? We were mustard in this kit. We were unbelievable in this kit. What was the kit that we were absolutely rubbish in? I can't remember. Someone will remember me. Remember for me. Yeah. Let's do some copium. Come on. Let's do some copium. It's not over. It's still December. Sometimes you have to go through these sorts of periods to convince the club to do something in the market. That's one of them. Anyone got any else? Let's blame the Puma kits. The dark green kit, that was it last year. That was it, Carbide. Yeah, the dark green kit. The Fulham, Bayern, and Lens. I haven't got any more copium, guys. I'm really sorry. Thank you, Jean-Paul. That's very kind of you, mate. Yeah, but let's come back to it. Like, it's the fine margins again. It's the fine margins, and like last year when we won late against Luton, that was a moment where you're like, this is one of those. This is just one of those seasons. It's one of those seasons where we just win late and things go in our favor. We've had decent. We had injuries. I think it's a lie to say we didn't, but it wasn't crazy. It wasn't like this season. We had bunches of fixtures and bits of referee luck, but it wasn't. It all kind of evened out. You felt. But this season, it just feels like it's all on top of us, and the things that are an issue and have been an issue for a long time, which I'm annoyed at the club for not fixing, haven't been fixed. I think we've got to do something in January. I'm one of those guys. I hate constantly going on about the market. It's so boring, and it's the sign of someone who, trying to be polite here. If you're someone whose analysis is just always go to the market, I feel like you're not looking at the football, because sometimes it isn't. Sometimes you have the profile, you're misusing it. Sometimes there's a form issue or a squad issue, whatever it might be. But this is a market issue. I do feel this is a player that we don't have. And if there's a player like if we go, okay, let's put it this way. If we get to the summer and we sign Isak for, let's say, £80 million, right? And it's like, we've been tracking him for years and whatever. And we know we could have got Isak for 100 million in January, which we can't. Newcastle needs to sell, or whoever it is. I'm not saying Isak, whoever. Williams, Leao, whoever. If it's like, we've been tracking him for years, what's the difference between like 10, 15 million pounds. Well, if that's the difference between a title and we're paying, Jesus 300 and whatever million pounds a week, surely you pay that. If it was 50 million, we're having a different conversation, but 15, 20, 25 million, like, what is it not? Why is it not worth going and doing something in January? I don't understand that. Like, okay, actually, a point from Logical Nonsense. We're wasting 100k a week on Sterling. Why wouldn't we say that 100k a week? Let's make that saving. Let's send him back to Chelsea. Let's cancel the loan and go and sign someone. Why wouldn't we do that? Why wouldn't we do that? I don't know. Yeah, I think we have to do something, and it's a big concern. Martinelli's relationship with the fans is going to get ugly, like 2019 Xhaka, but worse. Yeah, I do feel a bit of a turn, to be honest, against Martinelli. There's a tide is shifting, and I think people see what, frankly, I've been banging on about for about a year. That there's brilliant aspects to his game, but he needs to take some more personal responsibility, and he needs to like it. I fully, George slightly disagrees with me on this. I fully about where we place the individual versus the collective. I hear the collective argument. I'm not saying it's not there, but the more I watch, I've got a list on my phone now. I've got a list on my phone. It's called Martinelli. And it's just moments where he annoys me. I just write them down. And it's building up. And I'm going like, you've got to make that run. You can't make that decision. You've got to score that. The Maguire moment against United, like, come on, man. He's got to have more. I'm not saying he doesn't. But, if we're playing this way, if we're putting all of our eggs on the right-hand sided basket, we need something on the left. We'll finish there. We've got to recover. Got to go again against, I think it's Monaco in the week, isn't it? But yeah, look, let's look at the table. It's not over. And I know that some people just aren't going to have that, and that's fine. If we're sat here in February and we have these types of conversations, I will look you in the eye and I'll say this league is over. We've made it extremely hard for ourselves, I'm telling you now. But this league is not over because of where we are. That's it. It's that simple. We've only played 14 games or whatever. And I see issues with or 15 games. I see issues with Liverpool, etc., etc. Let me come to Chrome tab. There we are. Here's the table. Oh no, go back. Oh, for goodness sake. Yeah, there we go. There's the table. So yeah, we're now 6 points behind Liverpool. They are going to have to play that game in a more congested portion of the season. I think City are, look at their form. I think City are a big. Well, I don't know. I think they'll come back. But yeah, I don't know where they are at the minute. I still feel like they're a better team than Liverpool if they're at their best, but they're not. So it's if my grandmother had wheels. Chelsea, have to see how they get on against Spurs. I'm going to watch that game in a second. And yeah, Liverpool, I see issues. We're what's that? Just over a third of the way into the season. Still a long way to go. But I think without us doing something in January, long term, I don't see us fixing this issue, and it feels like we're getting killed on that issue. We can't control teams in that way. The Villas and the Fulhams, and their way you lose. It's a concern. Last couple of super chats before we close off. Yusuf says it's sad because genuine Liverpool are SH1T. Liverpool aren't SH1T. They have flaws. We have flaws, and then it's a question of. But like the idea I've been battling on the pod is that they have no flaws. They're this perfect team. They're not, and they will dip. But their flaws versus our flaws is basically the concern. It's not really inevitability. It's just increasing the output. We have a squad full of players lacking in output, and they can't seem to play their way out of it. Worth investing in January. Yeah, I agree. I agree in terms of the output. Doesn't feel right. And finally, Dial Square. I'm tired of the same mistakes over and over again. We can't access the central zones. Left-hand side dysfunctional. Refuses to play Rice. 6. Open play XG 0.3. I'm fed up of it. I completely hear a lot of that, mate. On the central zones, there are days where we don't go there. And today was one of those days. But then it's a day where you go over the top. Then it's a day where you switch quicker. Then it's a day where you go sideways quicker. Then it's a day where when the game does open out, you want transitions, which is stuff we've spoken about. Sometimes you aren't going to get access to central zones because teams are going to pack it in the way that Fulham did. They're one of the most compact teams in the league next to their box. You're not going to get in there. but you get round it in other ways, and then they open up. So yeah, it's a worry. It's a worry. We'll finish there. Thank you all for being here and supporting the channel. We're here for half an hour after every Arsenal game. If you want to support the show, you can do that on Patreon and on YouTube memberships. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe. Thank you all for being here. Apparently Spurs are leading, so copium. Here we go. Thanks for watching, and thanks for keeping it Arsenal.